This page is the cover of Nintendo Power magazine with the headline, Mission Impossible 64 Undercover. It features wrestlers Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Undertaker. The main game highlighted is WWF Warzone, with the tagline, Power Goes Over the Edge, and there's a preview of Zero X. Other games mentioned are Mortal Kombat 4, Quest 64, and Banjo-Kazooie Part 2. The magazine also celebrates Nintendo Power's 10th anniversary. The next page is the contents page of Nintendo Power, Volume 110, July 1998, celebrating the magazine's 10th anniversary. It teases strategy guides for games like WWF, Warzone, Banjo-Kazooie Part 2, Mortal Kombat 4, Chopper Attack, Harvest Moon, Mission Impossible, Mike Piazza's Strike Zone, Quest 64, Bust-A-Move 2, and All-Star Baseball 99. Special features include a preview of Zero X and a look back at Nintendo Power's history. Regular sections listed are Player's Pulse, Classified Information, Counselor's Corner, Player's Poll Contest, Arena, Now Playing, Pack Watch, Next Issue, and a game list. This page is the Player's Pulse section, featuring letters and fan art from readers. Bill Saunters discusses using games to encourage reading skills and strategy, while Natalie Redding shares a heartwarming story about how Nintendo helped her son with a learning disability. There's debate over violence in games, with opinions ranging from enjoying the realism of blood and gore to preferring games with mature themes but less explicit content, like GoldenEye 007. The Yoshi sing-song debate continues, with readers offering their interpretations of the lyrics. There's also fan art featuring Pokémon, Zelda, Rampage, and Mario. The next page displays the Nintendo Power Charts, covering top games for Nintendo 64, Super NES, and Game Boy. GoldenEye 007 leads the N64 charts, followed by Diddy Kong Racing and Yoshi's Story. The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past tops the Super NES list, with Super Mario RPG second. On the Game Boy charts, The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening takes the top spot, with James Bond 007 in second. A Most Wanted list is featured, topped by Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time on 64 and the Nintendo 64 disk drive. The page also features a letters section, continuing from the previous page, with readers sharing opinions about game difficulty and awards. One reader defends GoldenEye 007, while another suggests Tetrisphere for Best Sound. Additionally, the page contains a phone directory for Nintendo Power subscriptions and a pre-recorded game tips hotline. This page is an advertisement for WWF Warzone on the Nintendo 64, proclaiming it as Acclaim's biggest and baddest wrestling title. The page highlights various modes of play, including training, challenge, cage matches, Royal Rumble, versus tag team, weapons, gauntlets, and war modes. Each mode is briefly described with screenshots, showcasing the game's features and characters. The ad emphasizes the intense action and variety of gameplay options available in WWF Warzone, noting the game features 18 WWF stars and a custom wrestler feature. The next page continues the coverage of WWF Warzone for the Nintendo 64, focusing on character stats and signature moves. The page spotlights wrestlers like Stone Cold Steve Austin, British Bulldog, Bret Hitman Hart, Shawn Michaels, Owen Hart, and Farouk. Each wrestler's profile includes ratings for strength, toughness, speed, recovery, and charisma, along with a description of their wrestling style and a few of their signature moves with button combinations. The page also includes general gameplay tips. This page features tips and character information for WWF Warzone on the Nintendo 64. It details how to execute various moves, including tie-ups and corner attacks. The page also gives stats and move lists for wrestlers like Mankind, Ahmed Johnson, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, The Undertaker, Rocky Maivia, Ken Shamrock, Goldust, and Kane. It provides strategic advice for using each wrestler effectively, highlighting their strengths and weaknesses, and giving button combinations for special moves. The next page continues, with more information about WWF Warzone for Nintendo 64. It details running and turnbuckle attacks, providing button combinations for special moves and counters. It introduces hidden wrestlers Dude Love and Cactus Jack, and gives insights into custom wrestler creation, covering looks, personality, and skills. The page concludes with a brief comparison between WWF Warzone and WCW vs. N-Duo World Tour discussing their respective strengths in recreating the wrestling experience. This page is a strategy guide for Banjo-Kazooie, specifically focusing on the Bubble Gloop Swamp level. It gives tips on how to navigate the swamp, including using wading boots to avoid piranhas, finding Jinjos and Mumbo tokens, and defeating Croctus by feeding the crocodiles. The guide explains how to find a puzzle piece hidden inside a giant egg, and includes a list of items like golden banjos, jiggy pieces, Mumbo tokens, notes, feathers, and eggs. It also hints at what's to come in Freezy Peak and Gobi's Valley, and describes some of the challenges and enemies in the area. The next page continues with the Banjo-Kazooie Strategy Guide, detailing how to navigate the Bubble Gloop Swamp. The guide offers tips on how to obtain Jiggies, Mumbo tokens, and other collectibles. It covers several key areas and challenges within the swamp: the high roads, Puzzle Switch, Flibbits, Tank TUP, the Gator, and the maze. It mentions how to reach Croctus in up to the huts, defeat the Flibbits, help Tank TUP, explore the inside of the Gator, and navigate the maze. The guide also talks about finding Jinjos and a honeycomb piece. The next page focuses on Freezy Peak in Banjo-Kazooie, providing a guide to navigating the level. It offers tips on finding Jiggies, Mumbo tokens, and other collectibles. The guide covers various areas, including the igloo, present pile, tree, village, and snowman. It also discusses helping Boggy, beak-bombing snowmen, finding Jinjos, lighting the tree, and entering the pipe to get a Jiggy. This page continues the Banjo-Kazooie guide with a focus on Gobi's Valley. It details how to obtain Jiggies, Jinjos, and other collectibles. Tips are provided for navigating the level, including puzzles involving Trunker the Tree, a walrus character, Jinxie, the Canine Sphinx, and the Oasis. The guide gives instructions on how to free the yellow Jinjo, rematch Boggy, and use the running shoes. This page offers Banjo-Kazooie tips for Gobi's Valley. Loop Swoops involves flying with Jinxie through rings on a sculpture. Inside Jinxie requires firing an egg into the dog's mouth and finding an orange Jinjo. The Ziggurat details how to enter using running shoes, activate floodgates, complete the maze, and find a blue Jinjo. Mummy's Tomb explains how to find the green Jinjo, match tiles in the tomb, and ride the magic carpet to Gobi. There is a bird shrine, snake charming, and Histup. The next page is a feature on F-Zero X. It discusses the legacy of the original F-Zero on the Super Nintendo and how F-Zero X elevates the experience with faster speeds and improved features, including multiple camera angles and rumble pack support. Captain Falcon is the face of the game, and it is a futuristic racer with 30 gravity-defying vehicles, with gameplay screenshots and vehicle showcases, highlighting the anti-gravity cars and their attributes like body, boost, and grip. There are also comments made by the characters. This page is about Zero X, highlighting its features and gameplay. It emphasizes the game's fast-paced action with 24 courses and 30 cars. The review comments on the intensity of the races, the importance of energy management, and the use of booster arrows. It also promotes the 4-player mode and the high frame rate. The White Cat vehicle is shown, including a breakdown of the car attributes and lap times. The next page delves into Mortal Kombat 4 for the Nintendo 64, promoting the game's arcade origins and M-rated content with fatalities and new fighters in 3D graphics. It highlights the weapons and bone-breaking moves, along with combos. The page then details specific character moves and fatalities for Johnny Cage, Fujin, and Jarek, accompanied by screenshots of gameplay and key combos. It includes a key for the button inputs for the moves. This page continues the coverage of Mortal Kombat 4 on Nintendo 64, showcasing fatalities and combos for Jax, Quan Chi, Kai, Raiden, Liu Kang, and Raiko. The page provides character bios and descriptions, along with button input combinations for special moves and fatalities, accompanied by screenshots of gameplay. Each character is presented with their unique fatalities and a list of mortal combos, giving players a taste of their combat style and special abilities. The emphasis is on the individual moves and fatalities for each character. The next page features Mortal Kombat 4 for the Nintendo 64. It presents character profiles, fatalities, and mortal combos for Reptile, Scorpion, Shinnok, Sonya, Sub-Zero, and Tanya. Each character's description, fatalities, and a list of mortal combos are provided, complete with corresponding button inputs and gameplay screenshots. It gives a detailed overview of the character's unique moves and finishing attacks. This page is packed with cheat codes and secrets for various Nintendo 64 games. First up is Star Wars: Shadows of the Empire, detailing a long debug code to unlock in-game options like wall ghost mode. Next, Kobe Bryant in NBA Courtside reveals how to access hidden special teams, including Nintendo developers and tester squads. 1080-degree Snowboarding offers a trick list cheat, allowing you to gain credit for tricks you haven't performed. NHL 98 unveils a secret options menu to change uniforms and activate house rules by inputting a specific button combination. Top Gear Rally presents a code to unlock all regular cars. Finally, Quake provides a debug menu, accessible by entering the letter Q on the password screen, which includes options for stage select and invincibility. There's also a section for Aero Gauge, which details how to change the color of your car. This page of classified information contains tips, tricks, and codes for multiple Nintendo 64 games. Olympic Hockey 98 has codes to morph your player's proportions and change the announcer's voice. GoldenEye 007 reveals a trick for floating remote mines in multiplayer mode. In Clay Fighter 63 and a third Sculptor's Cut, Earthworm Jim can be unlocked as a hidden character with a specific button sequence. The page then lists special moves for Earthworm Jim like Eat Cow, Blast 'em, Whoa Nelly, Mega Blast, Propeller Punisher, Fatal Cut, Squeeze Play, and To the Moon. Or MK Mythologies, Sub-Zero. There is a password for Icy Invincibility. And Robotron 64 has passwords to start the game with 110 extra lives on different difficulty levels. This page provides a reconnaissance report for the Nintendo 64 game Chopper Attack. It details the various enemy units players will encounter, offering insights into their strengths and weaknesses. The report covers foot soldiers, super soldiers, anti-aircraft guns, tanks, super tanks, eggshell choppers, fixed-wing flyers, rammers, red and black choppers, black and white copters, missile carriers, spy bots, UFOs, and space bots. The page also showcases two unlockable choppers in the game, King 10 and Stingray, and provides their stats and capabilities. The King 10 is unlocked upon completing Mission 7, while the Stingray is unlocked for completing Mission 8. This page provides strategy and tips for the Nintendo 64 game Chopper Attack. It features area map data and guidance for several missions, including destroying radars, rescuing POWs, protecting the President's airplane, and battling in Aguara. The page highlights key objectives, enemy information, and combat tips, offering advice on weapon usage, maneuvering, and enemy tactics for each mission. Screenshots from the game are included to illustrate the strategies. This page continues the strategy guide for Chopper Attack on Nintendo 64, diving into missions 5 through 8. Mission 5 focuses on destroying chemical installations in caves, advising players to use AGMS and cluster bombs, and watch out for anti-aircraft defenses. Mission 7 involves eradicating enemies, emphasizing missile sites, and large enemy concentrations, with tips on using the environment to your advantage. Mission 6 is about downing transport planes, recommending homing cluster bombs, and staying high to avoid anti-aircraft fire, and using dummy missiles. Finally, Mission 8 takes players to the moon to battle a mothership, suggesting ignoring UFOs and focusing on the blue domes with Lost rockets and Vulcan weapons. Combat tips and screenshots are also provided for each mission to help players succeed. The next page delves into Harvest Moon GB for Game Boy, a farming simulation game. It introduces the premise of inheriting a ramshackle ranch and having a year to make it good. Tips include clearing the land, planting crops, raising animals, and managing stamina. The page mentions earning an additional plot of land, finding hidden money in a dresser drawer, and plotting fields efficiently. Harvest sprites are also mentioned who help by powering up tools, and they like mushrooms. The page features screenshots of the game, characters, and planting patterns. This page in Harvest Moon GB is all about how to manage your money and the tools of the trade. It lists the cost of various tools, such as the axe, hammer, hoe, sickle, watering can, sprinkler, and items to keep animals happy, like the milker, brush, cowbell, cow food, chicken feed, medicine, and first aid kit. It also details how to revive your energy with food items like meat dumplings, rice balls, croissants, cake, lunch, milk, green tea, wild grape juice, apple juice, and orange juice, as well as soaking in the hot springs. The game includes seasonal crops, like potatoes and turnips in spring, and tomatoes in summer. The Farmer's Almanac gives dates for planting and preparing fields, obtaining a horse, going for a picnic, and also buying a sprinkler. There is a tip that harvests sprites like mushrooms. The next page covers seasonal farming in Harvest Moon GB. It discusses strategies for fall and winter, emphasizing livestock management and foraging mushrooms. The Farmer's Almanac gives key dates for events like raising a cow, stocking the pantry, clearing the farm, and the last days for planting grass and broccoli. Seasonal crops like eggplant, peanuts, broccoli, and carrots are detailed with prices and yields. It also gives a secret tip on how your name affects which crops you can grow. If you want to erase all your game data, you can trade with fellow gamers and trade livestock and pets via a game link cable. This page features Mission Impossible for the N64, presented as an action thriller with logic puzzles similar to GoldenEye 007. It gives key tips for 23 stages of covert intrigue, warning that the secretary will disavow knowledge if Ethan is caught or killed. The page highlights the first mission, Ice Hit, tasking Ethan to stop an arms dealer from starting a nuclear war in a submarine base. It details objectives for Lundquist Base and sub-pen levels, including changing identity, finding excuses, locating a magnetic bomb, and joining Dowie for a getaway. The next page continues with Mission Impossible on the Nintendo 64. It discusses how Ethan's biggest challenge will be at the KGB HQ, warning that his disguise may not hold up for long. It provides a map of the HQ, outlines objectives like talking to Barnes, finding the video freezer, and escaping with Candace. It also details objectives for the embassy and warehouse levels, such as finding the facemaker, placing smoke generators, finding the exit key, and accessing the embassy HQ. This page provides a walkthrough for Mission Impossible on the Nintendo 64. It details the sewage control level, tasking the player to find the supercomputer, protect Candace, and get the NOC list. It also provides a fire alarm escape strategy with a map of the embassy, outlining objectives like securing lift access, finding Jack, dressing as a fireman, and escaping the embassy. The Finish the Mission section focuses on securing passage for Candace, finding Galliston's mask, unfreezing video cameras, assuming Galliston's identity, finding the exit key, and exiting with Candace. Screenshots accompany the instructions, offering visual guidance. The next page continues the walkthrough for Mission Impossible on the Nintendo 64, focusing on the CIA HQ level, where Ethan Hunt has to escape after being suspected of being a mole. It breaks down the mission into sections like escaping the interrogation room, navigating the CIA rooftop, and maneuvering through a terminal room. Objectives include sabotaging the heliport lights, finding equipment, obtaining digit cards and security codes, and ultimately escaping with a helicopter. The page includes images for visual reference. This page continues the walkthrough for Mission Impossible on the Nintendo 64, now at Waterloo Station. Ethan Hunt must clear his name by uncovering the mole, with Candace's plan involving selling the NOC list to Max. The guide provides a level map and explains objectives like neutralizing Max's henchmen, meeting Candace, blocking exits, finding the NOC list, and avoiding a bomb explosion. It also covers specific sections like the train car, where you have to be a sharpshooter due to limited ammo, and protect Ethan by shooting bad guys, train roof, and shooting the helicopter. The page provides tips and screenshots for key moments, such as aiming high when neutralizing henchmen, protecting Ethan with sniper rifles, and catching Phelps. This page continues with the walkthrough for Mission Impossible on the Nintendo 64, now guiding players through the Ice Storm level, which involves securing communications, finding equipment, and sabotaging missile sales. The guide outlines objectives within the subpen, such as getting the AF Scrambler, mine, gas injector, RC detonator, explosives, sabotaging the pump house, and regrouping. For the mainland section, objectives include finding explosives and plastic, sabotaging the power plant, cutting off camera power, taking the accountant's head, getting the briefcase, sabotaging it, delivering it, blowing up the helicopter, and escaping on the gunboat. It includes a map of the subpen area, screenshots of key areas, and tasks like placing the gas injector, regrouping, finding explosives, and sabotaging anchor bolts, along with tips for gunboat escape, destroying the gas factory, and taking out military targets. The next page features Mike Piazza's Strike Zone for the Nintendo 64. The page highlights the game's features, including All-Star Game, Home Run Derby, and Season modes, as well as team management options. There are screenshots showing in-game action, lineup management, and drafting. The game boasts in-depth features, customizable teams and players, and complete MLB team schedules for 1997 and 1998. This page delves into Mike Piazza's Strike Zone for the Nintendo 64, offering strategies for mastering the game, including batting, pitching, and fielding. It outlines game mechanics like pitch selection from curveballs to changeups. There are tips for fielding fly balls and managing pitcher's stamina. The page also highlights the game's customization options, allowing players to build leagues, edit teams, and modify players' attributes. Finally, the page compares Strike Zone to All-Star Baseball 99 and Major League Baseball featuring Ken Griffey Jr., noting differences in graphics, play control, and customization features. The next page features Quest 64 for the Nintendo 64, starting with a narrative hook about the kingdoms of Celtland and a stolen book that threatens to plunge the world into war. The review highlights the game as a light adventure with RPG elements, praising its 3D environments and monster designs, but noting that it might not satisfy hardcore role-playing fans. The page also dives into the game's combat system, which revolves around magic spells categorized into earth, wind, fire, and water. It then lists examples of these spells, along with their levels and effects. This page continues the coverage of Quest 64 for the Nintendo 64. It showcases the Kenishir and Dondoran Flats regions, including maps, points of interest, and stats for enemies like the Werehare, Frog Knight, and Hellhound. The text guides players through the initial quests, like finding a stolen gem and dealing with the thief solvering, providing tips for combat and level building. There is also a diagram of the towns of Melroad, Dondoran, and the Connor Forest. The next page covers the Carmog and Isle of Skye regions in Quest 64. It provides a map of West Carmog, detailing locations like Larapool and Cullhazard, along with tips on navigating the Windward Forest. The page highlights key characters like Shannon and Queen Deanna, and provides stats for enemies such as the Scorpion and Kryshell. It also gives advice on traveling from West Carmog to Limelin, the capital, and venturing through the Barragoon Tunnel. This page continues the Quest 64 walkthrough, focusing on the Highlands region. It describes the story of Dindam Dries, detailing Fargo's role in turning the Highlands into a desert. The page includes a map of the area, pinpointing Greenock, the Boil Hole, Barragoon Tunnel, and Shamwood, and also features screenshots and tips for battles, including strategies for the world of Mammon, and defeating bosses like Judgment and Pinhead, plus info on the knights, like White and Red Rose Knights. It also offers advice on using water magic against Beges, and reveals Shannon's true nature. The next page is a Counselor's Corner, offering tips and tricks for various Nintendo 64 games. For The Legend of the Mystical Ninja starring Goemon, it explains how to open the Yamato Shrine by moving the Turtle Stone, which can be found east of the shrine. Once inside, players can find a surprise pack and 2 silver fortune dolls. It also gives advice on defeating Kashiwagi, suggesting the use of the hookshot to reel him in, followed by punches and kicks, and to break his mirror double attack by punching him before he strikes. For Quake 64, the page advises pausing the game at the start of each level to check the number of secret areas, and to look for dotted lines and light shining in cracks to find hidden doors. It explains that Starthon in the first dimension is immune to weapons, and that players must activate the floor switches to electrocute him. Tips are given on how many times Kirthon must be electrocuted, based on the game's difficulty. Finally, it details how to find the secret exit in the necropolis, involving a water-filled passage, blasting ogres, shooting a back wall, and jumping into a teleporter. This page features tips and tricks for Turok, Dinosaur Hunter, and Final Fantasy Legend 2, along with Q&A for Super Mario RPG, Legend of the Seven Stars, Duke Nukem 64, and Final Fantasy Adventure. For Turok, it gives advice on reaching a full health icon in level 2 by following a hidden path near the canyon pools. It also details a safe pattern for defeating the acid-spitting mantis in level 5, involving running around the outside walls and using a strong weapon to enrage it. Additionally, there's a strategy for defeating the fire-breathing Tyrannosaurus Rex in level 8, recommending using the holes at the edge of the room for cover and attacking between breaths. For Final Fantasy Legend 2, it explains how to get out of Shogun's world by talking to the smuggler in Edo after walking around the counter. It also gives tips for defeating Odin, suggesting having at least 2 humans with 650 hit points each and focusing on the weaker enemies first. The Q&A section answers questions about treasure boxes and defeating dry bones in Super Mario RPG, level issues and radioactive symbols in Duke Nukem 64, and Medusa's Cave, hero levels, and selling weapons in Final Fantasy Adventure. The next page is a Nintendo Power 10-year anniversary retrospective. It recalls the magazine's launch and highlights major gaming milestones from 1988 to 1993. The timeline includes the release of games like Super Mario Bros. 2, Double Dragon, The Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past, and Super Mario Kart. Significant events, such as Nintendo's foray into television with the Super Mario Bros. Super Show and the introduction of the Game Boy, are also mentioned. The page also features Nintendo Power covers and game screenshots from throughout the years. This page continues the Nintendo Power 10-year anniversary retrospective, covering 1993 to 1998. Games highlighted include Star Fox, The Legend of Zelda, Link's Awakening, Earthworm Jim, Super Mario 64, Donkey Kong Country, Mortal Kombat, Pilot Wings 64, Wave Race 64, Yoshi's Island, and GoldenEye 007. The timeline mentions significant events, such as the release of the Game Boy Pocket and the introduction of the Nintendo 64. Additionally, it notes the cultural impact of phenomena like the Tamagotchi craze and the Mortal Kombat movie. The retrospective concludes by acknowledging the magazine's 100th issue and the departure of editor-in-chief Gail Tilden. Several Nintendo Power covers are displayed, along with game screenshots. This page is an advertisement for the Nintendo Power Players Poll Contest, celebrating 10 years of great games. The contest encourages readers to vote and enter to win prizes, including the chance to choose games from Nintendo Power covers. Grand prize winners get 10 games, second prize is 1 game, and third prize is a Nintendo Power t-shirt. The page contains images of various Nintendo Power covers featuring games, including Kobe Bryant in NBA, Super Mario Bros. 3, Metroid, and Donkey Kong Country. The contest rules and entry details are provided on the right side of the page. This page highlights Bust-A-Move 2 for the Nintendo 64, praising its improved graphics and preserved gameplay features. It covers the versus game mode, where players compete against computer-controlled opponents across a continent. The aim is to clear bubbles quickly, adding to the opponent's stack. It gives tips for certain matchups, such as aiming for star bubbles, or clearing the bottom of the screen methodically. A section also covers playing against a human buddy, focusing on creating long chains to bury the opponent in bubbles. The page emphasizes the game's 2-player option, 3 main modes of play, and the Bubble Bustin' Challenge. This page provides tips for Bust-A-Move 2 on the Nintendo 64. It explains the game's objective of clearing a triangular grid by choosing a 5-letter path, noting that each letter corresponds to 5 unique stages. Strategies are offered for several stages, with advice like prioritizing yellow bubbles to clear entire sections, and using bank shots to create pathways. The page also mentions the time attack mode, where players aim to clear screens quickly, and emphasizes the use of a controller pack to save scores. It highlights the 2-player mode, where players compete to clear screens faster than their opponent, and suggests setting a match point. The next page is all about All-Star Baseball 99 for the Game Boy. It highlights the game's features, including many batting and pitching options, good fielding control, and 6 play modes. The page provides tips on offense, like swing types and proper stance, and defense, showcasing different pitch types and fielding strategies. Game modes like Home Run Derby, Exhibition, Season, and All-Star are mentioned, along with the option for batting practice and playoffs, along with advice on managing pitchers and setting up your fielders. This page features an extensive breakdown of team stats for All-Star Baseball 99 on Game Boy. The information is organized by leagues, national and American, and divisions, East, Central, West. Each team's batting average and earned run average are listed, along with player stats. The text notes that the game doesn't fully support the Super Game Boy Color palette, but still offers lots of Major League thrills. This page highlights the arena challenges, offering players a chance to earn power stamps by completing in-game feats. The challenges include speedrunning Mumbo's Mountain in Banjo-Kazooie, performing tricks in 1080 degrees snowboarding, and hitting home runs in MLB, featuring Ken Griffey Jr. There's also a Beat Generation section with instructions for using the Game Boy camera's DJ mode to create music. ANP Scoreboard presents high scores for Star Fox 64 and Diddy Kong Racing. Also featured is Hide and Seek, asking readers to find the DJ somewhere else in the magazine. The next page reviews 3 N64 games: Mission Impossible, Chopper Attack, and Mortal Kombat 4. Mission Impossible is described as a spy-fi game where players must solve puzzles to meet objectives.
Chopper Attack focuses on search and destroy action with satisfying explosions.
Mortal Kombat 4 recreates the 3D elements of the arcade game, with new fatalities and updated moves. The reviews include scores for graphics, play control, game design, satisfaction, and sound, with an overall rating for each game. The next page features reviews of 3 N64 games: Quest 64, Bust-A-Move 2, and Mike Piazza's Strike Zone. Quest 64 is described as an RPG with an excellent world design and unique magic system, but suffers from repetitive gameplay and irritating sound. Bust-A-Move 2 is a puzzle game that sticks close to its arcade roots, offering simple but fun gameplay for fans of the series, but doesn't add anything new and has subpar graphics. Mike Piazza's Strike Zone is a baseball game with mediocre graphics and simplified controls, offering an arcade-like experience but lacking depth. The reviews include scores for graphics, play control, game design, satisfaction, and sound, with an overall rating for each game. The page also includes a section titled Behind the Numbers and Names, which lists the evaluators and their preferred game genres, as well as a section on age ratings. This page presents Packwatch, focusing on Nintendo 64 news. It highlights Rare's success at the Interactive Awards in Atlanta, where GoldenEye 007 secured multiple awards, including Interactive Title of the Year. The N64 secured 7 awards, surpassing PlayStation and the PC industry. The page previews upcoming 64 titles showcased at E3, including Star Wars, Rogue Squadron, 12 Tales, Conquer 64, Jet Force Gemini, and Perfect Dark. Rogue Squadron features futuristic flying, while Conquer 64 offers varied gameplay. Jet Force Gemini introduces 3 playable characters, and Perfect Dark aims to innovate with real-time ray tracing. This page, titled Pack Wrap, summarizes highlights from E3 Feat 98 in Atlanta, with Zelda: Ocarina of Time taking center stage. It mentions the excitement surrounding the playable demo of Zelda. Other games featured include NFL Quarterback Club 99 and NFL Blitz, along with Madden NFL 99, NASCAR 98, and NHL 98. Ubisoft's titles like Tonic Trouble, Buck Bumble, Scars, and Rayman 2 are also noted. Konami's Castlevania is anticipated, and the page briefly covers other games, such as Fox Sports, College Hoops, 99, Glover, Earthworm Jim, 3D, and Penny Racers. The page also mentions the debut of the English version of Pokemon. The next page previews several upcoming games. Eidos is fighting back with Fighting Force for the N64, a scrolling fighter with 3D elements, featuring 4 characters in mean streets, created by Core, the developers of Tomb Raider. It is also Or Die Trying, an adventure game with action and RPG elements, including real-time battles and character progression, with a mysterious tower with enemies reacting out of fear or hunger. Lastly, Turok 2, Seed of Evil, is previewed, promising an immense game with groundbreaking technologies. The returning hero battles animated enemies with a spectacular arsenal of weaponry. It mentions the game will include new adventure elements, and the page ends with "Don't try this in your dad's Volvo," alongside info about NASCAR 98. It is a fast-growing sport, with the thrill of speed in NASCAR for the N64, featuring 18 courses, real cars, teams, drivers, realistic drafting, intuitive play control, and graphics. This page, titled Pack Peaks, dives into what's breaking in the world of gaming. It kicks off with Star Power, announcing an exclusive agreement between Nintendo and Blizzard to bring StarCraft to the N64. It mentions that StarCraft and Warcraft are resource management, real-time strategy games. The page then looks at Koei's new look with Winback, describing it as a third-person action thriller with a player character on a mission to disable a killer laser system and has 350 animations. Next up is Up, Up and Away, highlighting Harrier 2000, a combat sim, and the 4-One World Grand Prix racing game. The article, Game Boy is Reborn, focuses on the Game Boy Color, arriving November 23rd. Lastly, Robotech Lives announces Capcom's distribution agreement with GameTech for Robotech, Crystal Dream, and also mentions Activision's 3-month-old version of Quake 2 and 4 of Kemco's upcoming 64 titles, Knife Edge, Charlie Blast Challenge, Top Gear Overdrive, and Shadowgate 64. Natsume is also developing Legend of the River King for N64.
Infogrames has a playable Space Circus for the N64. On the right side of the page, there's the PackWatch release forecast, listing upcoming games with their expected release timeframe, such as Body Harvest, Bomberman Hero, Buck Bumble, Castlevania, Extreme Egg 2, Zero X, Glover, and Winback, all for the fall of '98. The next page features Coming Next Issue, highlighting Bomberman Hero for the N64 and F1 World Grand Prix. It also previews Turok Seeds of Evil in the steaming jungles of the Lost Land. On the right is the back issues section, listing previous volumes with features on titles like Banjo-Kazooie, FIFA World Cup, '98, Quake, Bomberman, Yoshi's Story, and Diddy Kong Racing. Yoshiware items are also displayed, including a story-shaped CD, dog tag, t-shirt, youth ringer tee, and college sweatshirt, plus a Yoshi watch and a collectible Yoshi set, advertised with a Super Power Supplies phone number. A list of Super NES and Game Boy games are mentioned.